Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's wonderful day to have this, especially, you know, focusing on intelligent video management and what we call it's a game changer in security. So we are going to have a wonderful, thought-provoking session today. The world of security is evolving rapidly. I just want to bring one incident, that Saif Ali incident where the person is able to, climb up to the 10th floor. I don't know whether it is 7th or 8th, 10th floor. And they have a complete CCTV. Yet someone can, get into the house and hid himself. So why that happened? Maybe while we end up this session, we can also take up such a topic that how such whether intelligent video analytic can detect such incidents. So every day is a challenge when it comes to security, and today's session is designed to explore how AI is driving the transformation of intelligent video analytics. So it's a topic that going to impact all of us, whether as a professionals in security or technologists or industries leveraging advanced system to safeguard people and assets. So we have a wonderful speaker, Captain Ravindra Reddy, is going to give a keynote today. And we have tech gurus Vamshi and Srini, who has joined us. So as always we come back, come and say this is always we keep sharing the knowledge. Every knowledge is important to us. So today we'll take away the valuable insight, practical, and also glimpses of the future intelligent security solutions. So my name is Dominic. I'll be the host for the day, and we are continue to do every Friday, Saturday, knowledge-based webinars. We have an excellent response, over 355 responses for our invite. I'm sure as we day progress, we will have many more people joining us. So I have a request to all the participants to post your questions only in the Q&A. In the Q&A, when we post, we will take up at the end of the session, we will take up the questions and try and answer your queries. So who is our knowledge partner? It's all about Durang. Durang has been contributing in the knowledge series, and they are the true, I call it, true Indian multinational company based in Hyderabad, in India. They have an active office in USA and Finland. Durang is a leading provider of intelligent video management solutions dedicated to transforming traditional surveillance system into strategic asset that offer actionable business insight. So Durang's secure, reliable, and cost-effective video platform integrates seamlessly with existing surveillance cameras, be it IP, be it analog camera, delivering real-time data and analytics without the need for additional hardware or software installation, helping you to do more with surveillance. Durang software leverages cutting edge computer vision technologies and deep uh, neural networks to detect, track, and classify objects within video feeds. This sophisticated analysis enables the extractions insights such as customer demographics, behavior patterns, compliance to safety and quality process, and so on. So, thus providing situation awareness, which is crucial for optimizing operations across various industry. So, Durang, as I said, they've been driving this knowledge on video management software, and they are one of the fastest growing company in India when it comes to VMS. So we have been supporting, and myself, I am very passionately supporting them to ensure that every critical assets in the country. Just now we are speaking about the worship places, which is very, very soft target for terrorists and other people. So, and industry process, traffic management, they so on. This application can be endless. So, I'm sure Durang, with this knowledge sharing, your technologies and your commitment to the market is well received by those who are listening to this webinar. So, I want to thank our Captain K. Ravinder Reddy for joining to give opening remarks. And he served as a short service commissioned officer, captain in the army for 9.5 years before transitioning to the private sector. Later to HAL, where he served 18 years. So later he joined L&T Metro Rail in Hyderabad, heading security design and project implementation for Hyderabad Metro Rail projects. This include physical and electronic system. At Ramoji Film City, he implemented surveillance and threat detection system, developed SOPs, and formulated disaster and crisis management plans for tourism and events. Currently, he is a consultant for Tirumala Tirupati and Shirdi Temple Trust, overseeing electronic security system design, technical specification, evaluation, testing, and commissioning. He brings 4 decades of experience and physical and electronic security. What a wonderful speaker we have today to share his knowledge. And we have, as I said, tech gurus and who are now become a familiar face in our webinar series. Srini is a co-founder of Durang, a leader in video surveillance and analytic as a service. He has shaped the product design and market strategy. A voracious reader and traveler, he believes in innovation, strategy execution, and commercialization can create jobs, wealth, and position corporate India as a global economic leader. We have Vamshi, another tech guru. He brings 27 years of expertise in project management, operation, technology, infrastructure, and people customer management. So, with global experience spanning in US, Europe, South Africa, and Middle East, he has successfully led cross-cultural teams. He has been driving the development and support at Durang Vision Smart Surveillance Solution. A champion of quality, he implemented ISO 9001 and ISO 27001 standards for product development and support. So, this is a small introduction about today's speakers. I now welcome our Captain Reddy sir, and over to you for opening remarks, sir.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you, everyone, on the webinar. We are dealing with today's topic is intelligent video management. My first interaction of using artificial intelligence was at my home itself. I would like to share that when I first bought my Alexa and I started giving voice commands and the responses that excited me. And then I started buying the gadgets at home itself and I integrated it with vacuum cleaner, TV and all other things. But I have always been, as a security professional, I was always interested in how to bring the work things under this intelligent video management system or the artificial intelligence. The Durang was invited to give us the demonstration, and then we adopted Durang in Ramoji Film City, which has really surprised everyone in the Ramoji Film City in the management. Durang has done a wonderful job in giving us the customization for the tourism and the events, which has brought in wonderful results. The systems what we have integrated in Film City, Durang has enhanced our capability to improve our physical security efficiency, detection of events, foresee what could happen in future or what type of incidents are likely to happen. Security has been always been treated as a reactive type of a force, but with artificial intelligence and programs like software programs like Durang, uh, we are now able to
இது நான்
preempt
கூப்பிட்டது
what's
எனக்கு
going to
கோவர்ஸ்
happen,
பண்ணிருக்கீங்கல்ல
or what type of incidents are likely to happen. The Ramoji Film City attracts huge crowds, especially in the vacation seasons. Like this year, we had about on a single day 18,000 tourists visiting this. And with such large, huge crowds, where all incidents can happen, where all crowd congestion can happen, or what difficulties crowd has in the locations inside the film city, we are able to predict. And the operations team of Film City was really appreciative that the intelligent video analytics of Durang would tell us where is the problem going to happen next and what operational actions have to be taken to prevent any incidents. Also, the intelligent video management system, what it is able to, it is enabling the physical security professionals is that it is generating new content, which is images or spoken audio or music or even videos, which from the existing data, which is assisting us in preempting the incidents in the physical security. Earlier, all the same physical security professionals used to search a lot of data, text data or video data to get back what happened in the previous years. But now that can happen with a voice command, like an intruder who has made attempts into prohibited areas with the intelligent video management system, and we feed in the data that please give us the data, how many attempts have been made. It is just generated within a few seconds. And it can be person specific also. If somebody is trying to enter into certain areas which he is not authorized, and I feed in the data that he attempted this day, how many attempts he has made it previously. So entire thing comes up in a few seconds. That's really very exciting for the physical security systems. And all the industries, be it any sector, the AI and the generative AI is the future for the physical security professionals. We have already tested it and we are moving ahead for further customization for the requirements towards our organization. And each organization can customize these intelligent video management, AI generated systems or generative AI things, so that all the operators, all the managers can really have an exciting journey forward, looking at making their job easy in preempting and what type of incidents can happen in future or likely to happen, and what are the preventive measures we have to take so that the physical security incident management becomes much easier. With this, I now pass it on to Vamshi Krishna, who will share with you use cases and how the generative AI and AI is developing the video management surveillance. Thank you, everyone. Vamshi, now over to you.
Thank you, sir. I guess some people were saying some audio difficulty was there. I've asked to see if we can connect some other audio meanwhile for you. So when you get your other remarks, probably we'll have a different audio set taking care of that. So let me start with a brief overview because this session is all about implementation of AI in surveillance. So I'll try to keep it a little starter in terms of giving an overview of how the AI has progressed over a period of time, how surveillance was before, and where we are moving towards. So we'll try to focus in terms of some specific use cases that are typically applicable, are addressable across multiple verticals. And then we would request the audience to think of the scenarios that they have in their own field of work and see where all it can be used. Or where it can help them solve problems or improve the outcomes. So let me just share a screen for a brief presentation overview. I hope my screen is now visible. So as you all know, we're from Durank. Durank. We started with an idea to do more with surveillance, and what we mean by do more with surveillance is what we will cover during the next few slides in terms of what it is. So the legacy, before we look at today and look at how it is going to be tomorrow, basically we will have a quick view of what the legacy was. This is the legacy is that you have cameras, IP or analog, whatever maybe, and those cameras are positioned to cover the important areas or the critical areas that you think is critical for your safety and security measures. Because CCTV focused on safety and security earlier, not on any other aspects of it. Even so, these cameras are placed and you set up some recording locally in some device, and then you typically it's like a fit and forget model unless something happens, some incident, and then you have to go back to the recording, check what actually it happened, and then it's more of evidence management is what we do using CCTV. That has been the legacy. Yeah. But then came AI. That came a few other things, but then AI is having the major impact on every aspect of life, and surveillance is no exception. Right? So let's have a brief look at the AI journey over a period of time. How it evolved, starting from the baby steps of earlier baby steps that were taken in terms of pixel level analysis, doing edge detections, thresholding, histogram analysis, etc., kind of things, wherein you could get some basic image enhancement, some simple object detections through edge detections. That's where we started quite a few years back. Then moved on slightly to heuristics development with optical character recognitions, pattern matching, recognizing some specific objects, etc. Then implemented statistical analysis on top of that, and then went into statistical pattern recognitions, which helped with early face detections. Mind you, it's not recognition; it's just the detection that there is a human face. That's all, and not about recognizing who it is or identifying, etc. Just the detection of it. And then some kind of texture classifications, the early level classifications of objects, etc. This is where the baby steps were taken quite a few years back, and majority of the cameras still have this kind of analytics, like whether it is detecting of emotion, for example, that's inbuilt in the camera. But then as we move on, came the revolution with deep learning. Deep learning tried to mimic what happens in the human brain with all the neurons that are connected. So similarly, we aim to train the system and the software to detect various objects, the interactions of those objects, etc. So when we started with the deep learning, early image classification and facial recognition was made possible. So we could identify that. Then there were some breakthroughs that happened, which helped in terms of image segmentation. Not just that there is a person, but segment that image. Where are the legs positioned? Where are the hands positioned? Where is the face position? What angle it is, etc. So you can not only detect the object, but through image segmentation, you can do pose estimations, which help in terms of understanding a little bit of earlier behavior analytics were made possible. So this required a lot of work, though, in terms of the backend, wherein you had to train the system, needed a lot of images, supervised learning was to be done. So you had to images need to be gathered first, then they should be labeled and then trained with the system, and then deploy that network model. Build specific network models, neural net models, as we call them. So build specific neural net models using various options such as convolutional neural networks or recurring neural networks, etc. Those models were built and then specifically deployed for specific use cases. So each object that needs to be detected had to be separately trained, and then model needed to be built to be able to detect that particular object. I didn't want to be too technical or anything. We'll move on to generic things right after this slide. Just to give you an overview is what we thought could be helpful to understand the AI journey. So where we are today is with the generative AI and multimodal models. When we talk about network models, as I said, it's basically earlier models were specific models for specific object detections, a bunch of them maybe together. But now today, we're at a stage where we have multimodal models which can process and generate multiple types of data, whether it is audio, whether it is video, text, images, all of them can be combined. And we move on to agentic workflows, which help with interactions across all these various types of data that can be processed, classified, analyzed, and then inferred. So it started, generative AI started with deepfake image synthesis. By image synthesis, what we mean is the process of creating realistic images using artificial intelligence models. So you can give a text and it will try to generate an image which is according to that. So where is it useful? It is useful internally within AI because as we spoke about in the previous slide, we needed a lot of images to be able to train the system to detect various objects, etc. What image synthesis allowed is to be able to generate a lot of images that are required to train the models further and refine the models further. So it actually accelerated itself through image synthesis with generative AI. Then we have visual language models that are coming up, and with visual language models, what happens is that it can convert not only text into image generation, but also from the image, it will decipher what is there in the image, and it can provide you the text output of what is there in that particular image. Allows you in terms of providing captions for the image, etc. That is happening. So the future along these lines is focused on self-supervised learning. As we said, the system keeps on improving upon itself because it can generate the required information on its own and then improve the outcomes, reduce the false alarms, increase the accuracy levels, etc. With these multimodal models, we get a lot more situational awareness is what is made possible by systems of today and tomorrow. So there are various applications for it, whether it is in terms of augmented reality, virtual reality, autonomous systems. When we say autonomous systems, the first thing that comes to mind is the ADAS that we see in the cars of today, for example. So that's a lot of technology is built into in every aspect of it, especially in the automobile industry as well, and helps us in real-time decision making through because we have the situational awareness. Where who does it impact? I guess the question is probably around. It's I should rather ask who is not impacted by this. So every industry, every vertical is definitely impacted. Rather than saying impacted, probably I can say every industry can benefit with these advantages of the generative AI and the visual language models that are coming up today and tomorrow. So whether it is residential complexes, whether it is factories, I know that you want to keep your workers safe, ensure that your workers are following the safety norms, etc. Whether it is schools and universities to keep the campus safe, ensuring that there is no misconduct, understand the student behavior, for example, all of that. Whether it is transport hubs like bus stations, train stations, or airports, banking and financial institutions, be it any vertical. I mean, I don't need to probably read out everything, whether it is all of these can get benefited by implementing some form of the AI models that are coming up and that are made available today. So what is the base for all of it? The base for implementing the AI is basically that we should have a data that's available for centrally, because as of date, we still are not at a stage where this can be done. The AI implementations can be done at the edge level, which is to say at every location. But because of a lot of compute power that is required, whether it is GPUs especially are used, and those GPUs technology is changing very rapidly. So whatever investments we make on local deployments will be hard to maintain them because of the new changes that come up in the technology very fast. So it's available on the cloud. And for that purpose, when we go with initial implementations on the cloud models for AI, once it matures, we can have local deployments. But as like any technology, the first step is to have an implementation that we can be delivered from the cloud. And for that, what is required is you should be able to get all your cameras, the CCTV cameras, or all the surveillance infrastructure into one single platform for a centralized view, with camera management that can provide you user administration to control who has access to what cameras, who has access to which locations, etc. You also need to have health management, what cameras, whether cameras are all working, they are live, or they're recording or not. That's the basic level of the video management system that is typically provided by any VMS today. Then slightly moving on to a little bit more advanced VMS features purely is in terms of enabling a integrated command control dashboard, which provides you a lot more information, focusing more on the event generation. When we say event generation, that's where the AI comes into play, wherein automatically the events get triggered by the system, and then you can focus your energies on the events that are triggered rather than having to look at each video live or each camera live. So the event generation capability is what is determined by the underlying AI models that are available or that are made available by the platform that you're using. And once these events are triggered, obviously they need to be notified to the right people to be able to take the right actions in time. So real-time notifications are critical. And managing those incidents, whether it is escalation, whether it is controlling those events that happen, for example, emergency evacuation. Now, once you identify or detect a fire accident, whether it is immediately alerted to the right people and then appropriate actions taken. Then you have integrations with a lot of the third-party systems, or your whether it is your access control system, whether it is your boom barriers that manage your vehicle flow, turnstiles, scooters. When an incident happens, immediately, automatically actions can be taken to switch on the lights at that area, for example, or send out a message in the PA system, for example. So these kind of integrations become more important and more critical as we slowly graduate from basic level of monitoring to advanced usage of the video management system for the betterment of safety and security aspects still. Then we have integrations with ERP and other applications, whether you are using facial recognition for employee attendance or visitor management, managing your support tickets. Everywhere you can have implementations or some input that is coming from your video management system. So this is what any VMS needs to have typically before we move on and then graduate into the implementations of generative AIs. These are the founding principles of that system, and which is obviously Durang follows all of these, and Durang pioneered this model of completely device and network agnostic model, wherein it allows you to connect any maker model of any camera, because intelligence is not defined by what hardware you're using, but rather how you can process your ability to process that data. So data is what the camera gives, and the ability to process the data, which is the brain and the software, is what determines how effectively you can use that. Then ability to use any type of a network, whether it is a broadband connection, a 4G network, etc. So that's the first core principle of any VMS solution that you should aim to implement. Then comes the flexibility it offers, and nowadays there is technology is no brainer. A lot of security personnel who are not even tech savvy will be using the system, so it has to be very simple for the users to be able to understand and use. Provide a lot of flexibility and should be quite scalable as we start small and then implement, conduct a proof of concept, for example, and then move forward, enhance the capabilities, and so scalability becomes critical. Usability becomes critical. Security is nowadays we are in the age of all the cyber security, cyber crimes and threats, etc., whatnot. So security is one core area that cannot be ignored, and that needs to be emphasized a lot more in terms of all the data. When you look at the data that's coming to all the cameras and the NVRs and the DVRs that you may have, how safe is that infrastructure, and what is the software that is lying and ensuring that this data is not tampered with. So complete end-to-end encryption from the source of the when the data leaves the camera side of the site to when it is processed for the analytic event trigger and the event notifications, whether all this data is completely encrypted or not, what kind of security protocols are followed, encryption algorithms are followed. So that's critical, and that is what Durang definitely focuses on as a platform that is delivered from the cloud. The fourth aspect, or the last but not least, is once you have the base three pillars ready and the fourth one comes into play there, its value becomes more enhanced with all the AI integrations that are possible and the APIs that are possible. So with all this, what it allows us to do is basically move away from just eyeball monitoring when continuous monitoring of all the cameras into event-based monitoring. Whenever an event is triggered, automatically by the platform, that event gets notified to your central command center. With immediately the live view of that particular camera also comes up to you, so you can see that event that is triggered, on which camera, which location that event was triggered. You can see the live view of that particular camera immediately. Then take an action on it also. You can see the action on the right here. So you can either escalate it for the further review by somebody else, or you can take the proper response, maybe send a quick response team, note it down, note down what is the response taken for that particular incident, and close it as an approved incident or closed incident. So you have a level of incident management or tracking so that no incident goes unresponded to. That's overall in a view of a nutshell of a Durang platform, that what it allows. So some of the use cases let's get into with the use of AI, what is possible. So we have a leading automobile parts company that is using our solution for the safety and of the shop floor, wherein they can track not only the accidents that happen, but also the near miss incidents where the accident was avoided on the floor. So you track the number of such near miss incidents that happen. So taking into account the velocity of the whether it is a forklift that is traveling or any heavy equipment that's moving on. So the combination of velocity and the distance from that vehicle to the pedestrian. So all that is calculated in real time and then alerted. Here there is also
Vamshi.
integration. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Vamshi. Finish it and I'll add it.
So basically, this real-time processing happens, and then appropriately, immediately alerts are triggered or warnings are provided.
So I just want to add one more point here. These analytics that are there, which are now getting activated on the existing cameras, like what Vamshi has mentioned, that the existing cameras can become intelligent by adding the VMS of Durang and also on top of it, AI analytics. The main important aspect. Okay, somebody has put a message, so I just got distracted. But anyway, the main important thing is these, like what we have envisioning and what we have interpreted is these events that are happening in the shop floor or any kind of a environment that should be generated with the generative AI, where the querying of these can be done with a regular language processing, NLP. I just don't want to use all the technical jargon, but what happens is, in case these are in the back end, what Vamshi has shown on the bottom, where the 3D grids are created in the factory floor, and the entire factory floor is mapped, and the events are happening while these vehicles in the factory, the forklifts and other moving vehicles are happening, right? So the people are moving around, and there are predictive scenarios and situations where the accident can happen or some kind of event can happen. So the system is actually generating those images. System is actually studying those images and videos and creating its own scenarios and then populating the possibilities of these things that are happening. And those are all those are all basically the ones which actually give the opportunity to generate out of that. So those events and scenarios are generated by the generative AI, and they keep for you to query in a regular language. If you ask the question saying that where are my people walking around in the factory, it's actually looking towards those and then sending you back from those 50 or 100 or 500 cameras and then sending you the information of people spotted or if the forklifts near to the people. So those scenarios are actually created by the generative AI within the system. So you are not actually bogged down by 500, 600 cameras, which are need to be monitored on a continuous basis. But on a specific event or a specific request, they're actually sending you the messages back. I think Vamshi is going to cover the generative AI portion in the later part, but I just want to give you an intro on that, how it can actually enhance your opportunity to create a occupational safety, or whether it is a incident that is going to happen in terms of predictive scenarios where the forklifts are moving around in a random fashion instead of a regularized model. So those things can be predicted, mitigated, and also risk can be avoided. Please go ahead, Vamshi.
Yes, sir. Definitely. You look at another use case of a leading sugar processing company wherein a specific use case was deployed. They wanted to have an idea, wanted to be alerted if there is any foreign object that's detected on the top of a conveyor belt. Because on the conveyor belt, there are a lot of times there are iron rods or the wooden logs that take the sugarcane from the tractors onto the conveyor belts. A lot of times they fall on top of the conveyor belt, and they wanted the possibility or the ability to be able to immediately detect and then stop the conveyor belt so that immediately that can be removed. So this is done, and then it improves their downtime. Basically, they reduces the downtime completely, because earlier, whenever this by mistake the log went in, the crusher had to be stopped for a few hours, and they cannot afford that kind of a downtime, because during the season it has to run continuously. So this is another use case scenario wherein detection of foreign objects on a conveyor belt, which all look similar, but then the system can look at the fine grain differences. From a construction scenario, we're taking examples from different use cases, so we get an idea of how other people are using. Maybe you are from this vertical, maybe you are not from this vertical, from a different industry background. But it gives you an idea of how different people or various verticals are using the same solution or similar solution, but for their specific purpose, basically. So in the construction scenario, there are quite a few use cases, whether it is in terms of keeping the workers safe, to ensure that any worker that's closer to a pit, danger of falling, can get alerted immediately, to when there is a crane that is lifting load, and if there's anybody walking downstairs or closer in that proximity of the crane that is moving, the audible alarm can be sounded, so that they get alerted. Who are on the ground can get alerted immediately and move away from that path of the movement of that crane. So a lot of use cases like that are deployed from a construction scenario. And also, let me not forget the integrations with the softwares, specifically, let's say a BIM software, to monitor the progress of the work, etc.
Yeah, having said that, you do have an opportunity to take the regular surveillance cameras and then integrate them with AR and VR. Also enhance them and then take it towards the digital twin, where you have an opportunity to do the analysis comparing with the modeling. All these happening with the regular surveillance cameras that are available in the field, but used it in a different way. The eyes are in the ground, but how do you use that eyes to do your processing and then enhance your productivity, enhance your process improvement, and also reduce your downtimes, or better to that, use the human capital in an effective way.
Looking at another use case from electric substation safety perspective, there are now, you can automatically detect whether it is arc flashes, sound out proximity alarms, because it's not just that you touch electric wire carrying electricity that you get electrocuted. Just knowing that that's not enough, because high voltages involved, you need not touch the conductor to be harmed. If you get close enough, the electricity will reach out and then touch you in the form of high temperature electric arc. So these arcs that get triggered, etc., can be detected, warned. Any animal hazards can be detected and warned. From a warehouse scenario, there are a lot of use cases, specifically warehouses, not only from a safety security perspective, like intrusion detection in the night, which is the basic that is typically deployed. So to the advanced ones, which is in terms of identifying if there is any, when there is load is getting lifted, if there is any possibility of that load falling off, depending on how you stack it, whether the material is stacked appropriately or not, because there are certain rules that you can't stack certain material not more than 4 levels, some of them not more than 7 levels, etc. So you have certain rules that you need to follow in a warehouse, depending on what type of material you're using in the boxes. So all of that, whether there is any discrepancy in terms of stacking, any objects blocking the pathway, etc. A lot of use cases around the use case, the warehouses and logistics vertical are deployed.
Very interesting thing about the warehouses is like what Vamshi has shown, the journey of AI up to what has come up to the generative AI with the progress of a lot of hardware, a lot of GPUs that are available in the cloud. We remember like bunch of years back, like 7 years back, the use cases or the requirements used to come to us are more very standardized, very simple. They used to ask for like which are the available slots in the warehouse where I can put my material, right? Where are the empty slots? From there, the requirement has now moved to a more advanced situation where my product is available, where the forklifts are parked, where where is the material is moved yesterday. All these things are in the generative models, which are actually getting enhanced in terms of the back end. So the productive analysis of the warehouse scenarios are also improving, and the requirements in terms of customer education and the customer coming back and asking for a better kind of a solution is happening now, instead of the earlier journey of very standard query. And now it is more of a advanced in terms of how they ask for those things to be very actively involved in terms of their process improvements.
Let's look at another use case, which is an integration, a slightly more deeper integration with the systems, wherein in pharma industry, where it's a zero dust environment zone, if there is any spillage of any kind, the system can detect that, not only detect it and alert, but also send that information out to the cleaning robot, which can actually go to the specific spot and then get that have that area cleaned. That kind of an integration, along with detections and integrations to ensure that it's a zero dust environment, is possible today. So we've looked at quite a few use cases considering different verticals, maybe more of a theory kind of a thing. So what I would like to do is probably spend the next couple of minutes in terms of showing you what we mean by the generative AI. So you get an idea and you can think for yourself in terms of how it can be beneficial or useful for your own scenario. Like, for example, when we look at situational awareness, let me take this first example. You have a camera that's looking at a street, and what it does, the system does, is basically tries to look at each thing that's coming up, understands what is happening around that, and this is internal to the system. I'm just showing you so that you get an idea, basically. As the system sees it, the generative AI, it looks at it and says that this image, is of a daytime street that's having vehicles. That vehicles are passing by, the people standing near the pole, and there is a scooter parked, etc., etc. So you can understand what is going on, decipher the scene. That's what is the capability of the system. Look at a different scenario of, let's say, for example, a cash register camera that's there in a retail store. The system keeps looking at what is happening there, whether there is any cashier there or not, whether there is any customer, if there are customers left standing, but there is no cashier. So all of that understanding can happen. The system can understand that. It's not just that, you train for specific objects, but look at and be aware of the surroundings and what is actually happening in that can be deciphered by the platform.
So I think Captain Ravindra sir can appreciate this. See, a lot of scenarios where the agent sitting in the old-fashioned way in the command control, and then looking at eyeballing the video feed and trying to do the video verification of what is happening in a real-time scenario was the olden days of physical security, trying to look through the cameras. Now, what Vamshi has shown is the generative AI system in the background is actually understanding each and every frame and understanding each and every scenario in the background and keeping it ready for you. So either you want a real-time alert like an agent looking through the camera, it actually gives you through the generative AI process that what is the situation and situational scenario in that particular scene that is happening, whether it is a fire detection or whether it is a vehicle detection or whatever it is happening in the scene. The behavior of the scenario is not like a human behavior, but the behavior of the overall scenario is been actually defined in terms of the background. It's actually understood by the system itself, and then throwing the alerts and then reading through the process. So if you ask a query, or if you don't want to ask a query, if you have some rules set, those rules are actually looked by this generative AI mind or algorithm, and then actually brings you to the forefront when that scenario has been actually valid and then that scenario happens there in the background. So those generative AI processes are running in a continuous fashion, continuous manner, like how human beings are looking at the scene and then analyzing it. These are happening in the background. So your NLP queries, like natural language queries, can be answered by this generative AI algorithms and give you the scenarios. Like if you just type in a message saying that, is there any animal in my, perimeter? And the perimeter of the factory may be 500 cameras. So what the generative AI is doing is it just goes within no time and looks through all the 500 and brings you only those two cameras that have spotted the animal. So these scenarios are all now by nature, generative AI is analyzing in the background. It is not the humans who are looking through. Humans want to take a decision only after after your valid query is answered by the generative AI.
Definitely. So this is where the benefits of implementing a solution come to you, because bulk of the work is happening at the back end by the system, and then the relevant information is presented to you so that you can actually act upon what is presented or what is the information available. So again, similar situation of awareness. There's a fight going on. System can understand that there is a fight going on. Though once it understands, then you can define the workflow of what needs to be done next. That is what we define as humans. We define what happens, what should happen next. But what is actually happening there can be understood by the system.
And it's
Like,
the
this is another-
surprising, and this is a surprising factor, Dominic, where this generative AI is actually looking and understanding the scenario, right? And it is also advising you, it is also trying to tell you something, saying that, this is what you need to do because there is an altercation, right? So it's asking you to step in and try to solve the issue, because that's actually analyzed with the generative AI in a continuous process. And it is actually recording the past events and also learning through that process. And when the past events have been taken care of, that information is also there with the generative AI in terms of our human input. So it is actually learning itself by the scene, and it's creating a scenario, and then it's also giving a suggestion, like, based on the past, what the decisions were taken, these are the steps you need to take. So it's a suggestive environment also that's been created by the, algorithmic, process in the background.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So the generative. So this situational awareness is how much effective in terms of in large crowd, like what I'm talking about, like worship places or a sports event. Is that in realistic? Can you really implement that?
Absolutely realistic. It's a self-learning, and also it's self-healing, and also give you understanding of what happens in the past, and then learning on that experience. It also gives you the future dimension and also give you the future prediction. So generative AI is like more dynamic. AI analytics like 4 years back or 3 years back were more of a identify, recognize, and then report. I'm done. Right? But that's only based on a specific thing. Like you say, number plate detection. I'll take a very low-end example. The number plate detection, white label, white list number plate. So you have 1, 2, 3 is the white list. And then when the system sees it, it matches it, the validation happens, and it sends you the message to the, boom barrier. That's a life cycle of that particular analytic, right? That's a very standardized way of doing a small process. But now generative AI has gone much beyond that. It is actually looking at that 1, 2, 3, how many times it has come in the past, what is the predictive kind of weekly, the coming through of that vehicle. And, there are many more things that is surrounding on those, the small blips and blips of information. These agents are actually interacting and working together and trying to create a scene and then trying to create analysis. But this is all happening in no time, right? So that's where the GPU hardware is very high in terms of consumption. So, like what Vamshi has mentioned 3 slides back, to putting this whole thing in a cloud environment will help you in terms of, accelerating your GPU hardware and then create these scenarios, and situational awareness becomes very dynamic, not like a very, slow process, because this needs to be dynamic in terms of protecting the people, protecting the assets, and protecting the, the factories or whatever it is. Security is one aspect. But
with generative, AI, the chances of preventing a crime or preventing an incident is much probably higher than the previous AI.
Absolutely, you have pinned the point. So now we have gone to the third stage. stage one, stage two, and stage three. The generative AI is with the stage three in the video analytics, where we have much beyond and much more in terms of opportunity to mitigate the scenarios by proactively system analyzing itself and then giving you the scenario. Go ahead, Vamshi.
One point, Srinu, I would like to add here, Vamshi. We have tested this generative AI in the sense that in the Ramoji Film City, we have 7 gates, and you just ask so-and-so vehicle, we pass through how many gates, how much time it took to pass, and if the distance is only 100 meters, why it took 1 hour to pass through that gate, where all it has gone during the intervening period. All this it gives in a few seconds. This pass through this gate at this point, at this point, at this point, and how much time it has taken. It has already been demonstrated.
Sir, since you spoke about Ramoji, was this solution, was it helpful in detecting certain incident and avoiding that incident? Was there any such cases there?
We have certain outsiders who are permitted because it is sometimes it is used as a public road also. So when we use permit a vehicle, it has to pass through only those through gates, but it has transgressed into other areas. It is immediate. We get an immediate letter that it is passing through prohibited areas also. So that alerted our patrolling system. By this vehicle has gone to that area which is not supposed to. Please go and halt that vehicle and redirect it to the other gate which is supposed to go.
Yeah, this one more where I see as where this can be very effective generative AI, Srini and Vamshi, like in most of the hospital when there is an emergency. What do you call entrance where you bring a emergency patient to that. So because I do fire audit in this hospital, so always there is a concern that along with the patient, along with the ambulance, when you bring a emergency patient, it could be an accident or anything. So the huge crowd also follow, and they're very anxious to see what happened. Now that camera which can be kept outside and watching this crowd, behavior of this crowd, are they getting agitated, are they getting violent, can such generative AI can prevent large crowd gathering, but they're peaceful, no action required. When they're becoming violent or when the situation is becoming little crisis, management is required, can the generative AI can really trigger and say action to be taken, or you need more security people in that area? Is that possible, Vamshi?
Yes, Dominic, definitely it is possible, and that is where it helps also because crowd detection it's not enough to say that there are 20 people there. It's important that whether there are 20 people just waiting, as you said, or there is some really they're agitated.
Commotion is there.
You need to understand that, if there is a commotion, there's some kind of altercation happening with the staff and the visitors, etc. So those kind of things can definitely be detected and then promptly alerted.
Yeah, there's so many applications that you can think of. This one is on hospital, especially on emergency. Then you have airports. We have counters where argument taking place. The passenger getting irritated, and there could be a chance of violation. I'm sure every counter in every airport there is a camera which is focusing on the passenger.
Correct.
Okay, I don't know whether airports are really looking at these kind of it is. I don't see it's a matter of cost. If such generative AI can be implemented, and you can avoid so much. One is overcrowding on a counter. You reduce you increase the opening the more counter, and altercations or argument leading to kind of violence that can be detected. So the application I can think is huge. Why we are not able to implement is a question. Why government or the sector like airports and hospitals, why can't they look at it?
Yeah. So I think Dominic, it's more of a awareness issue in terms of technology availability. A lot of times, the customer education, and that's where Captain Reddy, meets a lot of these people and then try to educate them and then give them understanding of those. So the point still remains is it can go across many verticals and give an opportunity to save lives, save property and all those things. But the important thing is understanding of the customer need to be clarified first. Not everything is possible, but at least the things that are possible need to be understood, and implementation has to be in a phased manner. So we have to become partners with them. As a technology provider,
Another
we have to
live,
become partners with them.
another live, incident that has happened very recently in Kumbela, and their huge tents got gutted. Basically, there was huge fire. They have a common kitchen where all these cylinders are located in a common place, well managed and all that. But, there's some people want to cook themselves, take the cylinder to the camp. That's how it happened. The whole camp, huge. It is not really came out in the media, but there was a huge fire. But we found out that the gas cylinder got busted. Now, but if you have a camera which is really focusing, somebody when you say ban the cylinder moving into an independent
Correct.
camp, so you
Correct.
can see that somebody carrying a cylinder,
Is a red
gas,
flag. Is a red
yeah,
flag.
red,
Is
you
a
can
red
raise a
flag.
red flag. There is somebody
Correct.
violating the rule there. Yeah,
Correct.
we should have avoided the
Correct.
huge loss, crores of rupees, worth, damage that happened by simple implementation of this VMS there.
Yep.
I'm only really concerned why authorities are not gearing up to accept this technology and reduce the damages, as you said, protect the lives, protect the asset. Everything is possible.
True. Go ahead, Vamshi.
Let us look at a few other types of use cases or understanding of the situation or awareness of the situation. So when the system looks at it, as you can see, for example, in that image, it looked at it, identifies what background it is. The camera is a dumb camera, right? It doesn't know where it is. I can put it in wherever I want. But the system looks at the feed that comes from it and then says that, yeah, this is a hospital corridor with medical staff, the medical facility. So you can detect where it is, and that is the situational awareness that the system is able to provide for us to be able to take appropriate action. So once you see these kind of things that are possible in the platform or in the system, you will be able to think of use cases that are more suitable or applicable to you. For example, if you just show the image of the map, and then system can understand what is this map, where is this located, and what is actually this map trying to tell us. So this kind of intelligence is derived through the images and the video that comes into the platform, right? So it understands what is happening there, etc. So this understanding of this situation is what helps. So a practical example, I leave with a practical example in this particular video. So as you can see, the system keeps checking what is happening there. It's a busy street. Yeah, there are a lot of vehicles parked. That's fine. But the moment it sees an ambulance, then it can detect that and say that, yeah, there is an ambulance in the foreground surrounded by cars. You know that it is stuck in the traffic. Then you can appropriately alert the right area and then ensure that it can pass through quickly. So this is one such example of how it can be utilized in real life. Yeah. So imagine the possibilities from your own specific point of view, because we can't cover all the points of view or where all it can be used. But you saw the idea of what is possible. Once we have an image or the video that's coming, we can understand what it relates to or what it is trying to decipher some information out of that. And with that information, what is possible for us to do? There is no problem these days that cannot be solved. So every problem will have some solution. Not only problems, but there are possibilities to improve the existing operational processes, improve the compliance to quality, etc. So whatever is it that is on top of your mind, you can think of achieving that through the use of the surveillance, the dumb CCTV cameras, just the CCTV cameras, use them, build the intelligence through the platforms like us, and then improve your operational processes, increase the efficiencies, or even while at the same time, your safety and security is already by default taken care of. Nobody, we don't need to talk about safety, security anymore because we are moving far away beyond just the plain safety security aspect. So I'd urge you all to think in terms of what is possible, what are the areas that you would like to see this implemented from your own perspective, and then take that forward. So overall, it's a unified system. What we have, the video data is one part of it. Implement generative AIs on top of the video data that comes from the cameras with real-time notifications, which can automate the actions that are to be taken, what actions to be taken. You record that also for your trend analysis for future, ensuring you have your compliance, your safety, your risk management is taken care of, with the end goal of improved customer service or satisfaction, and overall your process improvements. With that, I'd probably close with those thoughts and open up. I can take any questions.
I think there are a couple of
Yeah.
hands. No.
Yeah, we
No.
have. Let's take a few questions. Then those who wants to interact with the panelist, please raise your hand. I will try and allow you to talk live, but be specific to the questions that to this topic today. So let me go to the questions that I'll start with Narendra. What is the minimum volume of configuration for any project to have this system viable and stable to operate? I mean, whether it is purely CCTV surveillance based or other protective system like fire safety, HVAC, water utility, utility loads also. So you just want to know where, viable and stable to operate with this solution.
So
You would
let
like
me
to
try
take
to take that. I'll take the first
Yeah.
part of it, and then Mr. Srinivas can add on top of it. So
Mhm.
there is nothing like a minimum volume. You can have one camera and have one analytic process done it. It depends on what is important for you and what is the priority for you. So if it's a matter of compliance, safety, to what extent you are willing to oversee that or ignore that versus how strictly you want to enforce certain rule. If it's related to lives, like for example, what Dominic was mentioning in terms of saving life in terms of a fire accident, it becomes non-negotiable. No cost is too high for that. And so those are different aspects of it. But then for a regular day-to-day implementations, we definitely need to look at the current process that is happening. What is the improvement that we want to bring in? And it may be possible with just one camera. It may be possible with 10 cameras or 10 locations. So the cost benefit analysis will need to be carried out, no doubt about it, because we are not at a stage where it is available like at a mass scale at this point still. It will be a few more years by the time it can reach to that level. But there is definitely cost involved in it. But it's an individual call, individual meaning the specific use case call is what I would look at. And to address your second point, it's not just the CCTV surveillance, but we have integrations with other systems, whether it is your HVAC systems or water utility, etc. There are IoT integrations that are possible to do. Like for example, if you have a sensor that detects a water leakage, for example, in your pipe. Let me look at the water supply scenario. So we can associate it with the camera, and then the moment you have a trigger from your IoT sensor, you can have a visual validation. The camera can take signal. It can give you an information whether, to what extent you can actually see to what extent the damage is there or whatever. So there are possibilities to integrate with IoT devices like that.
Yeah, to give a smaller perspective on that about what is the viable and stable operation. We have done cameras that have taken from an ambulance to the cloud and did the analysis in terms of the patient who is on the transported while on the ambulance. This is live given to the ER, and the live feed that is given to the family also been analyzed in the cloud. So that's the lowest level, and we have use cases where hundreds of cameras from one single warehouse to 70, 80 warehouses across the country being brought into one central command control for the analysis. All those are possible through the cloud nowadays. The bandwidth is also available, unlike 5 to 8 years back. So there is no minimum viability, like Vamshi has said. There is some cost involved in it. We can do the analysis based on your requirements.
Hi, Mohan Mutanna. You can unmute if you want to talk to specific speaker. Go ahead, please. Okay, we have a problem. Okay, let's take the other one. Habibullah is asking how AI-based technology is going to help for headcount in refinery or oil field.
So the visual aspect of Mr. Habibullah, the visual aspect of the camera is very important for the facial recognition. So, most of the time, the ceiling mounted cameras may not be able to take the full face, but in the oil industry and other, not only the oil industry, for many industries, wall mounted cameras across many of the locations, like the corridors or the specific areas, can help in terms of detecting the faces and identifying the whitelist, blacklist people. All those things can be done with the facial recognition. We have a complete facial recognition engine that is pre-built into the system that can take faces from a regular camera and then do the process of whatever the workflow you require. Vamshi, anything to add? Please go ahead.
No, but I think that's good.
Vinay is asking, do you have any kind of AI software being integrated for integration? Is there any certification? Is there any listing is available?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Software. Either softwares are certified. We have like UL and FM, and whenever you integrate with third party on life safety product or something, so there is a certification issues comes in. But I don't know because we have done integration with fire in many places by others. Software per se, UL or FM are not geared up to approve a software.
Yeah,
So
right.
I have not come across, but I don't know about Srini.
No,
Do you have any
Vamshi,
certification body for software?
No, as of now, no, obviously. But then basically the integration that we are looking at this point, we're not completely depending only on the software for fire detection. See, the fire detection systems or alarms, etc., are there. The integration is to the extent of identifying where it is and give you a visual validation of how bad it is and what are your other areas that are open for evacuation, for example. So how do you integrate surveillance with your fire safety is that once you have a trigger that's coming from the fire safety, the VMS systems will help you decide the appropriate path of evacuation, for example, how busy it is, etc., whether all the people are evacuated or not. Those kind of, the responses is where the software would help more. So there is no specific certification that's directly involved for the software.
I would like to add here one thing. The Open Network Video Interface Forum, which is an internationally accepted forum where the profiles are there, profile S, profile J, profile T, and what this camera and these are adhering to which profiles. So accordingly, it's not purely a certification as like an ISO certification, but it is a standard being established by the entire forum of open video interface companies.
Anup Chandra can unmute and speak.
Hello.
Okay, Anup. Yeah, Anup.
Can you listen?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sir, what lot of things they are doing. So they can create certain standard for doing this thing. I want minimum this thing. So by creating the standards, everyone should do minimum of this thing. For that you can do BIS. You can approach BIS. And if you don't, if you need any help, I can always help to create a new standard for any things what you have talked now. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. We will revert back to you on personal direct one-to-one and see whether what BIS can write standard on this or some guidelines on this. There is a Ravi Subbanna is asking Vamshi how the software can help ERP application. Can you cite some example?
Can I take that?
Ways in which, yeah.
Well, okay. So I'll start and then Vamshi can add a few points. See, I don't know which ERP you're referring to, Mr. Ravi, but what we have is we have excellent integration or excellent APIs, inbound APIs and outbound APIs that actually do the data flow from in and out with the visual data. Like say, I'll give you a very crude example. Whether the number plate or whether the data details on the containers in the shipyard or any other information that is actually collected from the visuals can be packaged and sent to the downwards systems like the ERP. Okay, whichever the ERP, any ERP, be it homegrown by the organization itself or whether it is procured from the external public ERP products, we can send that data back to you. And that data, when it comes into your ERP, how you are going to process it is up to the ERP. Or if the ERP sends a trigger or a API call to the Durank VMS, and Durank VMS can actually look through and process for one of the visuals that they require and then send back the data. Vamshi, you want to take it forward on that?
Yeah. I'll give an example of, for example, in a retail scenario. So when in a retail scenario, you wanted to have a look at the returns or voided transactions, for example. So I'm giving you an example from a pull perspective, which is querying our VMS system perspective, right? So when your system has the details of all these returns that happen or voided transactions that happen. If you want to see the visual validation, whether it is the individual, with just the cashier doing that voided transaction, or whether there was a customer that returned something, the actual material. So you can query our platform to give you the video feed of that specific time based on the transaction time that is there in your platform. And then our system will give you the video feed of that particular minute or whatever is the duration that you specify. That's an example from an inbound query from our software perspective. So the system can ask some query to the platform and then you get a response. Another approach is that we have an outbound APIs that, for example, you are in a warehouse scenario. I'll take another example of a logistics scenario. When vehicles are taking the load out, which vehicles went out today. So you may have the data in your platform. You can cross-check the data with our platform, saying that what are all the vehicle numbers that went out. There are possibilities. I mean, in terms of even identifying the weight, also the load of those vehicles as well. That's coming up soon after. But at least at this point, the number plate based on the automatic number plate detection, which vehicles went out, which vehicles came in, how many times the same vehicle was used, like that. So I'll take one more example and then stop. For example, in a HRMS scenario, you use a lot of contract employees, for example. So how many contract employees came in today? What was presented versus what is there in the platform? So you can compare through facial recognition. It's possible. There are multiple aspects of how you can integrate and where all you can integrate.
I mean, I'll add one more example to what Vamshi's list. Like you have courier companies where the boxes are getting dropped by the customers. When the camera detects a damaged box, which actually records and sends back the information to ERP, and ERP is actually storing that information for the future retrieval. Even though that the front desk person accepts that box, it is still recorded and kept it in the data and then forwarded it to your ERP, so that tomorrow when there is a claim comes, insurance claim comes, you can actually query back and then see why it has been accepted and who has accepted it. So there are many opportunities like what Vamshi has said. Integration backward and forward. Ours is a very open architecture in terms of our solution as a platform. We provide platform as a service. We provide VSaaS as a service. So it is back and forth integratable with many of the downstream and upstream systems.
I think the one last question from Kuldeep, I think Vamshi can answer. He's asking whether the software can be used only on top of CCTV surveillance. Yes, I would say, but maybe technically can answer those questions. Meanwhile, we are almost completing 1.5 hours. This kind of discussions is necessary. It's not about the product. It's about the technology availability, as Vamshi was saying. Every second, every minute, every day, there is a change in, especially on AI, the technology, the accessibility of information. So it's very important for us to keep coming back to you with more and more advanced software on security management. We also discussed about command control in the past. So we hope that it will get the attention of all the security officers in the country who are responsible to implement and maintain the security. We would like to address them, and we'll continue to do this exercise of bringing the new challenges and the solution for those challenges. So I want to thank our keynote speaker, Captain Ravindra Reddy, for joining us today and sharing his experience and also suggesting what we can do better. And I want to thank Vamshi for excellent presentation. There's a lot of demand for to share the presentation. So of course, Trini, very nice to see you and very confident answers that you are giving in this webinar. I look forward to see you again in a month. Let's come out with another topic which will interest the security and facility managers. And we continue to do this this year, 2025. Bring in and I would say it's more. It's not about the wrong software. It is more of what we can give back to the country and make our nation more robust and more confident and secured. I would say, it's very important because we are such a high population. The threat level is always high. And with these available, like as I was quoting Saif, the celebrities are targeted today. You've seen Allu Arjun has been targeted when, the theater could have been very well managed. I'm sure every theater has a camera, has a CCTV. When such new movies being released, when the large gathering expected, these kind of camera with simple generative AI, lot many things could have been avoided. The lady who, in the stampede, she died. So, but unfortunately, he's been targeted. So, lot that, even celebrities are feeling insecure. Saif Ali case and many other cases. So there is a need for such solutions. So we need to reach out all those and say, when there is a technology level, why can't we use it? And we can bring down the crime rate, we can bring out the threat level. So we continue to do this. Let's see in this year 2025 how much people will adopt to this technology, Srini. And I want to thank you for your patience and large patience that you have in communicating this to people. And we invite almost 50,000 people, inviting them to please join us, listen to this. This application could be not necessary only in hospital. It could be in healthcare, hospitality industry. It could be in entertainment industry. Applications are plenty when you think of VMS. We come back again soon with another topic, and let's catch up next session. Thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining. I want to thank Navya and Lakshmi on the back end for supporting us and keeping us informed what's happening background there. And look forward to see you. And we'll share this recording in our YouTube channel. Thank you, Srini. Thank you, Vamshi.
Thanks.
Thank you, Captain.
Thanks, Dominic. Thanks to all.
Thank you.